Carolina rig, an essential bass fishing technique. Let's learn it here at the Googan Lab. Carolina rigging can be used in the springtime up shallow and can be used all the way into the summertime when fish start to move out to deep water, and it's an extremely effective way to get your bait down at the bottom where those fish are and still have a finesse look to it. So let's rig one up. Carolina rig is essentially a weight out in front of a leader with a hook on it. So we're gonna start with our leader. I'm gonna be using 20 pounds. So I usually use 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon, just depending on the water clarity. You can also use braid. Throw in like a 40 to 65 pound braid. Gets you a lot of sensitivity, but usually I like to go with a fluorocarbon. So we'll break out our 20. First step, you don't have to do this, but I find it advantageous if you're throwing long leaders especially. And the difference between a short leader and long leader, usually you go longer leader if the fish are more suspended off the bottom. Usually that's more in the summertime. Shorter in the cooler water. And a shorter leader is a lot easier to throw, but what I like to do, just as good practice on all of them, is I put a bobber stop on my line first. So our bobber stop's threaded on. I'm gonna slide that up the line. And our next step is gonna be our weight. The weight is totally dependent on how deep water you're trying to fish. If you're going deep water, let's say 10 foot, 20 foot, even out to 30 foot. Sometimes I like to go with a 1 ounce, but today I'm using a 3/4 in here. A 1/2 ounce is really good for like 10 to 20 feet as well. So I'm gonna thread that on. So the bobber stop is first, then we have the weight, then we have our swivel. The swivel, tie whatever knot you want. I'm gonna tie a Palomar here. Okay, I'm gonna slide my bobber stop down. Now we have the bobber stop, we have the weight, and then we have the swivel. Now we need to tie our leader on. The leader is important. It's dependent on how clear the water is, again, but this is sort of a finesse approach behind the heavier line and the weight. So you always want your leader line to be lighter than your main line. In this case, I'm gonna use 12. Usually I'll use 15 or 12, just depending on the water clarity and the structure and things like that. But I really never go below 10. And sometimes if there's really big bass, I'll go up to 20 and match the main line. But most cases, you can use 12 to 15 and you're just fine. So in this case, my leader's about 2 foot. I would say that's probably a good place to start, and you can adjust from there. And now you're gonna tie your leader onto your barrel swivel. Now you can't tie a Palomar since there's already a weight and a main line on the other end. I'm just gonna use a simple uni knot. And then we need our hook. Now a tip for Carolina rigging, go down a hook size, and that's gonna help your bait suspend, float, and give that real natural approach in the water. The heavier your hook, the faster your bait's gonna sink. So I'm gonna go down to a 2/0 hammer hook right here, and I'm gonna be rigging a junior trench hog on it. But again, tie whatever knot you want. I'm just gonna do a uni knot again right here. Now all we gotta do is put our bait on. There's a lot of different options you can use for Carolina rig. You can literally use everything you use for a Texas rig, but I've always liked using stick baits and creature baits, particularly small creature baits like this junior trench hog right here. These little legs are gonna flutter, and it's a low profile bait. Carolina rigging, you're setting the hook with the weight in front, and it should really just be a sweep. You don't wanna jerk up on the rod. You wanna sweep it, and you'll get a lot better hook sets that way. But I like thinner plastics that I can get that hook point through really quick. So just thread that like you would a Texas rig on there. Skin hook it. And the bobber stop on here is gonna prevent that weight from sliding up when you're making that big load up cast. And sometimes that weight will shoot up because you have so much leader. And so when this lands in the water, your weight's gonna be in place, ready to go, sink to the bottom, and it won't be sliding around on your main line. So that is it. Go give it a dangle. Thanks for tuning in. And if you want to see any of these knots that we did here, I know we went kind of fast, you can subscribe right here to the Googan Lab.